Hey, what's up everybody, and welcome back to News Dose. Now, it's no secret that Xbox Game Pass is a big part of Xbox's future. It absolutely has become the best deal in gaming, and they've had a lot of success with it. Well, things are starting to get absolutely insane. Game Pass is growing rapidly, and with some new numbers today, it's just wow. And in one way it's growing is actually really surprising, and we will talk about that today. This is very interesting stuff, so stick around for that. Also, is PlayStation being nefarious, holding back the PC and Xbox Series X with contractual obligations? A new Capcom contract did surface online yesterday, and there are a lot of assumptions that PlayStation is limiting the capabilities of the PC and Xbox Series X. But is any of this actually true? Well, we'll talk about that today as well, so stay tuned for that. With that said, if you liked the video, make sure to hit the bell notification and subscribe button to stay up to date with all of the latest gaming news. With that out of the way though, let's get right into the video, starting off with Konami. Yeah, we get to talk about Konami 2 days in a row, and these topics might actually be linked. So, a fan on Twitter asked Konami a question about their upcoming stylized 2D action game coming to the Switch, Getsu Fumiden. That game actually looks pretty good in my opinion. I never played the original, but I like what I'm seeing here. The same user though says that I hope this isn't the only thing going on for the Switch, and Konami's response is very intriguing. Their reply was that I'm sure he isn't the only one with a winky face. It does sound like that they're teasing something here, and it could mean that more Konami games are set to be announced for the Nintendo Switch. Now, we don't know exactly what games, if any at all, but I think we can kind of guess and put things together. We know for a fact that Konami will be at E3. That was a very surprising inclusion, but they will have some kind of presence at this year's E3. Well, if this tweet is true, we could end up getting some Switch reveals there. The other thing, however, is that just yesterday, we talked about two recent Konami trademarks. They did just trademark both Castlevania and Metal Gear Rising. Now, as I said yesterday, that doesn't necessarily mean that there are new game announcements incoming, but then today, Konami is kind of teasing some Switch reveals. So maybe they are planning to port Metal Gear Rising over to the Switch. It would actually be a very fitting pair if you think about it. You can play as Raiden and use the Joy-Cons for precise swings of the blade. I'm not really big into motion controls or anything like that, but it could work. Also, a Castlevania reveal for the Switch is welcome anytime, whether that be for old ports or a brand new game. Metroidvanias have been on the rise in recent years, and hey, if they made a brand new 2D Castlevania, I would buy into that day one. I said the same thing with Metroid. Not everything has to be big AAA games. People will absolutely buy a 2D Metroid or a 2D Castlevania. So yeah, let's make this happen. At the end of the day though, this is all just speculation. I'd like it to be true, but as of this moment, we only know that Konami appears to be teasing something Switch related. Now, we also finally got a release date for Tales of Arise. It will be out on PlayStation, Xbox, and Steam on September 9th in Japan. However, I believe outside of Japan, the console version will be out on September 10th. Yes, it's still a little ways away, but it is looking really good. They did post a new trailer today, which if I don't have a video on screen here, I will leave a link to that below. Bandai Namco, unfortunately, is a company that is pretty strict with their video rights, so I may not be able to post gameplay here. It does look really good though. I like the direction they're going in with the art style. Now, as for the combat, it's about what you would expect from the Tales of series. You have a party and mix your melee combat in with an assortment of different arts. Again, I like what I'm seeing, but for me personally, the thing that's most important for me is the characters and the story. Tales of Vesperia is one of my favorite JRPGs of all time in terms of its story and characters, and I'm really hoping we can get that with Arise. Nonetheless though, mark your calendars for September 10th. I know I'm certainly excited to play this game, and I hope you are as well. Next up, in a big surprise move, Jeff Kaplan, aka Papa Jeff, announced that he is leaving Blizzard Entertainment after working there for 19 years. Papa Jeff, of course, is the most recognizable face to the Overwatch community, as he was always the one to explain updates and why they balanced characters in specific ways. Nerfing, buffing, or flat out changing characters wasn't always met with glowing praise, as you can't really make everybody happy. It is a difficult job where you always have fans screaming at you on what quote-unquote is correct, but he always seemed very passionate about Overwatch and his future, and I personally think he did a phenomenal job with Overwatch. Overwatch still has a huge ongoing community, so it's saddening to see him leave Blizzard just ahead of Overwatch 2's launch. I've kind of mentioned this in the past, but I am a big fan of Overwatch. It's one of my favorite games from last generation, and I put a ton of time into that game. Now, I haven't played it for a while as I am waiting for Overwatch 2, but I absolutely will return when the sequel comes out, hopefully in 2022. They did, however, announce here that Aaron Keller will become the new game director. Keller is a Blizzard veteran and one of the founders of the Overwatch team, so I'm sure Overwatch 2 is in good hands. I'm not really worried about that at all, and they seem pretty confident about it. Regardless though, Jeff Kaplan will be missed, and I just want to say thank you for your hard work on such an amazing game. I don't know his plans for the future, but no matter what he decides to do, he's got a bright future. Even his goodbye message was amazing, quoting Winston, "Never accept the world as it appears to be. Always dare to see it for what it could be. I hope you do the same." And I think that's an important message, especially with everything that's happening in the world right now. Let's talk about Xbox though, and there is a lot to go over here. Free-to-play games on Xbox will officially no longer require Xbox Live Gold. This has been a long time coming, but this absolutely was the right move to make. Since Phil Spencer took over Xbox, they have really tried to be a more pro-consumer company with putting gamers first. They've added things like backwards compatibility, cross-buy games with PC, and of course, Xbox Game Pass. And there's just a long list of pro-consumer things that Xbox has done in recent years, and you really have to appreciate that as a fan. However, Xbox Live Gold is the one low point for Xbox, especially because free-to-play games required paid subscriptions of Xbox Live Gold. It just didn't really make any sense, and every other platform holder didn't do this. It just wasn't a good look for Xbox, and fans rightfully hated that this was a thing. Well, luckily today that's all in the past. From this point forward, you'll be able to jump onto your Xbox and play free-to-play multiplayer games as they were meant to be, free. This makes the Xbox Series S an even more attractive device now. The Series S is the most affordable next-generation console at $300, and if you're looking to play popular games like Fortnite or Apex, then the Series S just got a lot more attractive. Speaking of making right moves though, we need to talk about Xbox Game Pass. I think it's been pretty evident that Xbox Game Pass has been growing rapidly. The last reported figure that we heard was in January, when Xbox Game Pass had 18 million subscriptions. That is fantastic and everything, but check this out. According to Jez, they just now surpassed 23 million subscriptions, which would mean they gained 5 million subscribers in around 3 months. That is insane growth, and we're really starting to see that snowball effect. The ball is really rolling now, gaining traction and getting exponentially bigger with every roll. And that right there is what makes this even more interesting. Xbox Game Pass already has 23 million subscribers, and they haven't even got started with releasing their big first-party games into Xbox Game Pass. Halo Infinite releases later this year, which will be monstrous for Xbox Game Pass. You also have Starfield, Hellblade 2, Fable, Perfect Dark, Avowed, the next Gears of War, and whatever their 23 studios are working on. I mean, we still haven't really seen all of the fruits of all of these studio acquisitions. I think we will really start to see that payoff in 2022 and 2023, so we could see major growth over the next 2 to 3 years for Game Pass. It's going to grow a lot faster than even what I was originally expecting. Interestingly enough though, Xbox Game Pass has really been expanding with xCloud. Now this was a surprise, but reportedly, 40% of players who play Minecraft Dungeons using game streaming does so on their phone exclusively with touch controls. I did not expect that at all, but it shows you why Xbox is investing so much into touch controls for Xbox Game Pass games. Xbox Game Pass, of course, is available on phones, tablets, and PCs thanks to xCloud. Well, that does expand the reach of Game Pass, and we're seeing that with Minecraft Dungeons. They are having success with that game on mobile devices, especially with touch controls. Xbox has been adding touch controls to a lot of their games here recently. More than 50 Xbox Game Pass games do have touch control capabilities, such as Viva Pinata's, Killer Instinct, Gears of War, and plenty more. I myself would recommend using a controller for the best overall experience, but as we're seeing here, A lot of people will just choose touch controls, and that's why Xbox is supporting this option. There is a very large portion of gamers that are used to playing on phones with touch controls rather than using controllers. I think we kind of get wrapped up into what hardcore gamers like, but admittedly the mobile market is massive and they're used to playing with touch controls. Now this could end up being a big thing for the future of Xbox Game Pass though. I mean, you'll be able to play big AAA games on your phone, and this market is not used to that type of high quality. We could end up really seeing a lot of growth for gaming in general if Xbox somehow pulls this off. Nonetheless, Xbox Game Pass is really starting to heat up, and we're going to hear a lot more about this, I'm sure, in the coming years. Okay, let's switch gears for a moment because a rumor popped up last night that PlayStation and Capcom signed a contract that would hold back the PC and Xbox version of Resident Evil Village. So allegedly, a leaked document went into detail about the marketing deal made between Sony and Capcom. I'm not going to share that document on my channel, but these documents may have been obtained from that big Capcom leak last year. That was a very unfortunate situation, but yes, there is a possibility that this document is indeed real. Now, you should still take it with a grain of salt until proven true, but yes, it could be factual. However, this document has appeared to be rather shady to a lot of people. If you go into what it says, Capcom will receive PlayStation marketing which is valued to be $5 million. In return though, Resident Evil Village on PlayStation will get 2 weeks DLC exclusivity, 1 week demo exclusivity, 1 year subscription service exclusivity, right of refusal on subscription for Resident Evil, and the one that really has people upset, content, feature, and technical parity subject to material platform limitations. So this document was really making the rounds last night, and a lot of people made the conclusion that this means that the Xbox and PC version would be held back graphically in order to reach technical parity. That would be shady if true, but is that what is actually happening here? Well, this morning Hogue Law posted a big video explaining what's going on with this alleged contract, and he does a great job explaining everything. I really recommend watching his video as he does know what he's talking about. It's a long video being 35 minutes, but definitely well worth it. I will have a link to that video below, but to put it short, he points out that this unlikely means that the Xbox or PC version will be held back. A lot of people seem to be ignoring the line, subject to material platform limitations. Hogue Law explains this a lot better than I can, but if he's right, which he is very knowledgeable about this stuff, the Xbox and PC version will not be held back graphically, as this specific line explains otherwise. However, there is still that 1 year subscription exclusivity and first right to refusal. This was targeting Xbox Game Pass. That means for at least 1 year, Resident Evil Village cannot show up on Xbox Game Pass, and even after that, PlayStation would have first rights for their own subscriptions. That is unfortunate for Xbox, as Capcom is a big supporter for Xbox Game Pass. Both Monster Hunter World and Resident Evil 7 has appeared in Game Pass. So I don't really like that move per se, but Capcom did agree to these obligations, and even if they didn't, that doesn't mean it would have come to Xbox Game Pass. Who knows what would have happened, but I will say, I hope this doesn't become a trend. Now, as for technical parity, I guess we'll see what happens with the launch of Village next month on May 7th. We'll see what kind of resolution each has, so it'll be interesting to see the analysis of Village on the PS5 and the Xbox Series X. And now let's take a look at the poll of the day. There's been a lot of discussion here recently on the importance of Metacritic. Reportedly, the Metacritic score was a major factor in rejecting a sequel to Days Gone. So I wanted to ask you on what you think. Do you think Metacritic should be a major factor in deciding if a game gets a sequel or not? And 90% of you said no. You all also made a lot of well-made points. Dave K, as an example, pointed out that movies aren't put under the same scrutiny. That is a great point, but it's kind of true. When it comes to games though, I think Nier is a good example. Nier on the Xbox 360 has a 67 overall score. It reviewed pretty bad actually, but then it got a sequel in Nier Automata. Well, after that, the rest is history. Now, if they would have just listened to critics of the first game and decided it got too low of a score to get a sequel, we would have never gotten Nier Automata. Instead, they saw potential in Nier and they gave it a second chance, and yeah, it definitely paid off. So yeah, I absolutely agree with you all here. Anyways though, that's it for this episode, but if you liked the video, don't forget to bell notification and subscribe button for more content just like this. Also, if you'd like to support the channel through Patreon, thank you for making this content possible. Peace out.